The new diaper from LNGU is something to be proud of. I have tested the Little Melody extensively in everyday life. In the video, I introduce you to the diaper and show you the results of my practical test. Everything goes faster with LNGU. It was already available in Europe when I introduced it in Diaper News episode 30. Normally it takes at least a few weeks, often even several months. The French manufacturer has recently expanded its range more frequently. For a long time, it consisted of a single diaper, the candy Fluff. Unfortunately, it was quietly discontinued. It could at least have been discontinued, instead, it was not available until it disappeared from the website. Apparently it was to be replaced by Dragoons, which was released in 2024. I had also tried it out and my conclusion was quite positive. Take a look at the practical test. We will now focus on the new Little Melody. As with its predecessor, the packaging has a modern design, completely printed to match the motifs. It is slightly transparent so that you can see the outline of the diapers. The packaging can be torn open without scissors or other sharp objects if you know how to do it. It contains 10 diapers, as is now standard with most brands, apart from a few outliers. As soon as you take them out of the pack, you can feel that the diapers feel thick and have a robust film on the outside. Interestingly, they only weigh 218 grams. This is surprising, as it is the lightest LNGU. The Dragon diaper with the highest absorbency to date weighed slightly more at 241 grams. The market is clearly moving towards thicker rather than thinner diapers. But apart from the weight, you don't notice much of this. This may also be due to the foil on the outside. It is pleasantly soft and feels quite strong. Another surprise is the adhesive. LNGU is using Velcro for the first time. The previous diapers all had resealable plastic adhesives of decent quality. But with Velcro they are entering completely new territory. The main motif is on the adhesive surface. Here, LNGU was inspired by rears, who select 3 motifs based on size. For medium, it's the penguin. The Linux fans among you should therefore fit in their best, as large has a panda printed on it instead and extra large has a cat. A wetness indicator is present, but as a classic stripe in the area between the legs. Several manufacturers have copied this, including Abu with the tiny tails. I think this is usually a shame. There are better examples where the indicator has been integrated into the design. However, the stripe on the Little Melody does not detract from the design. With a bit of goodwill, it could even be seen as a deliberate stylistic element, like a dividing line. You can buy them from the sponsor of today's video, Diaper-Minister.com. It is one of the largest ABDL stores in Europe, based in France. The offer starts with a variety of diapers. In addition to many colorful ones from the ABDL range, which I have already tested, there are also plain and medical diapers. There is something for every taste, colorful, less colorful or not colorful at all, thicker and thinner. You can also buy clothes there. Colorful underpants, diaper bodysuits, t-shirts, overalls and more, all in adult sizes, but in a playful style. For those from the USA, Diaper-Minister has launched the new Kiddo Diapers US shop. The range of diapers and ABDL clothing is growing, with shipping from the USA. You can find the links to both stores in the video description. The Little Melody is available from Diaper-Minister for €30.90 per pack, which corresponds to a unit price of €3.09. It is slightly above the average of all diapers from the practical tests. To find out whether this is worth it, I wore a pack in everyday life. Although they are slightly lighter than their predecessor at -23 grams, the diaper does not feel thin at all. It is on a par with the thickest other test candidates such as Tykables Waddler or NRU Tinimals. So it's not just the weight and therefore the bulk that matters. It also depends on how it is used and the thickness of the outer foil. It is clearly noticeable between the legs. Fortunately, as it is not extremely squashed into the pack, it adapts to the body quite quickly. This takes a little time given the thickness, but I found it comfortable due to the soft outer film. The fit reminds me a little of Tykables with a fairly wide cut between the legs. LNGU seems to have managed to implement the trend of a thick diaper without having to use even more material. What about the absorbency? Wetting is no problem at all for the diaper. You hardly notice it at first because the liquid is absorbed very well and you are used to the feeling of thickness when empty. However, the wetness indicator quickly tells you that it is no longer completely fresh. The white background means you can also see it away from the strip. I think a wetness indicator is practically useless with these diapers. However, it would be helpful for the dyed ones in all darker colors. With a completely black one, for example, you can't see anything at all. A strip that changes color would be useful there. It would be difficult to integrate into the design, which is probably why nobody has done it yet. With LNGU, we have to live with paying a little for a wet stripe that we could have done without any losses. But that's a topic in itself. I wonder with several diapers why they put it in the ABDL area. I always ignore it during my practical tests anyway, because the diaper is used until it leaks. Despite drinking a lot, it took quite a while. When it gave up and leaked, the diaper weighed over 2.3 kilograms in total. This is not only a clearly above average result among my tests. It has also made it to 8th place in the current list of diapers with the highest absorbency, just edging out the rear's Barnyard by a few milliliters. The company's own Dragoons can withstand a little more and is currently in 3rd place, but costs around 20 cents more per piece. However, when it comes to price, the Little Melody is not the first choice either. The next places after and before it are all cheaper. Daydreamer, Overnight and Waddler have a slightly higher suction power. The Daydreamer is significantly cheaper at €3.09 per diaper. You have to pay €2.89 each for the two Tykables. This reduces the gap, but they still cost less despite the Velcro fastening. It is also worth taking a look at 9th place. Here is the aforementioned Barnyard, which only scored a few milliliters worse. At €2.24, it is just as cheap as Daydreamer. I still think that Little Melody is worth it. Compared to the Tykables, it has a foil that feels even thicker. I like that. The Daydreamer did impress with its good suction power. Not everyone will like the rather strong floral fragrance, which all the alternatives mentioned do without. Is it better than the Dragon diaper? Subjectively, it feels a little thicker and the suction power is slightly lower. But the new one costs a little less. It's debatable whether plastic adhesive or Velcro is better. I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages. Velcro comes off more easily at night and is a little more time-consuming to dispose of. On the other hand, it's easier to go to the toilet during the day when you're out of the house. I find Little Melody even more comfortable to wear than Dragoon. It will therefore be my new favorite diaper from this manufacturer. Due to the price, it's not a standard for everyday use, but there are some with a much better price-performance ratio. As I'm writing this, I'm wearing a Safari from Rears, for example. It doesn't hold quite as much as the Little Melody, but at 2 kilograms it's still decent. On the other hand, a diaper is much cheaper at €2.33. As is so often the case, it depends on how much money you can spend and which criteria are most important. If you are looking for a different diaper, take a look at my practical tests. I've already tested many of them, so I'm sure there's an alternative for you too. Stay dry until the next video.